Welcome to F.O.D. Overdrive, the podcast that keeps you up on your Friday nights. We're a three-man team that also has a weekly conservative terrestrial program Sundays from 3 to 5 p.m. on 94.9 News Now, WJJF in Connecticut, Long Island, and Rhode Island, called FreedomOnDeck. To live stream the station and listen to our program, go to freedomondeck.com and click Listen Live, or listen to all of our back shows of Freedom on Deck and FOD Overdrive, the podcast, on the site. You can get daily updated news, contributions from Chet Martin, that's me, Lee Elsey from The Lee Elsey Show, Julio Rivera from The Reactionary Times, and Alex Newman from The New American Magazine. I'm Chet Martin, joined as always by the fearless one himself, CV Burton. CV, it's been about a month and a half since we've done the podcast, but it's good to be here with you, brother.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
It has, it just kind of, I think we got caught up with some situations where we weren't able to do the show, but we're starting it off month and a half down the line, and it's the same thing. It's always the same messaging. It's right. a pro-Trump show, but I have to talk about some of the big things that have been happening this week. And on Thursday, Elijah Cummings kicked the bucket. Mr. Cummings, he's one of those get Trump impeached. He always said that President Trump would never be reelected in his lifetime. So that actually came to fruition, CV.
Yep. I guess Cummings was goings. Away.
Cummings was going. They say that we're supposed to take the high ground on someone like Elijah Cummings, but CV, my high ground was doing the happy dance. This was a guy that bankrupted Baltimore. He was an absolute shyster. He never did a good thing in his life, and for me, good riddance. I hope his family's doing all right, but aside from that, I don't have any well wishes for Elijah Cummings' memory.
He just seemed like such a dolt, He
was a dolt.
He was such a dimwit. He didn't know where he was half the time. Although I will say one nice thing about him is that towards the end of his life, during these hearings and ridiculous hearings that they displayed in the House, he did seem to be polite. He was trying to act polite. And so I got to give him kudos for at least trying to be polite in some of these ridiculous hearings that never end.
Well, President Trump put out a nice tweet, and he said a lot more than I would have, the way that Elijah Cummings came out our president, but that, he took the high ground. That's fine. I mean, I guess that's the only thing he could do,
Yeah, you're not really supposed to laugh when your enemy falls on his face. I mean, unless he's
it would have been hard. It's one thing for us.
A political enemy. I mean, if it's like a Nazi soldier and it's World War II, and somebody shoots him before he shoots you, then you could celebrate. But I'm just saying, like in normal day-to-day business, when you have enemies who are out to get you and they fall on their face, it's better just to take the high road and not laugh, because God may see you laughing and, be disappointed in you and turn it against you,
Yeah, I better watch out. So before we get into this first topic, though, I do want to address the fact that President Trump sent Vice President Mike Pence into Turkey to meet with Erdogan, and they were able to come to an agreement to have a ceasefire in Syria, and also able to relocate the Syrian Kurdish forces, which is good. And President Trump basically told them, look, if ISIS is being set free, there's going to be big problems, and it's going to hurt you economically. And, what I see happening here is Erdogan said he's going to take some time away from the battlefield, and let's see what happens here. I mean, we really don't know, but let's give President Trump a chance to make something work out here, because he took over something, CV, that was a mess from the get-go. I mean, Barack Obama's policies, and let's be honest, George W. Bush's policies created this mess that we have in the Middle East right now.
Yeah. What did he wrote a letter to how do you say his name? Erdogan. Sounds like some kind of science fiction bad guy. Anyway, what did he say in the letter? Don't be stupid.
Kind of, yeah.
And Erdogan threw it out. He crumpled it up and threw it in the garbage can or something.
Believe me.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It just seems to me, can I just give you my perspective from as a layperson? I'm not a general or anything. Obviously, this is just Freedom on Deck. Overdrive, let's be specific. It just seems to me that there was nothing going on over there. Seemed very quiet. Trump let the generals defeat ISIS by taking their handcuffs off and letting them do their jobs. So ISIS was they were roundly defeated, and it was quiet, and Syria was not in the news. And then suddenly Trump says, "All right, we're done. We're getting out of there." And then all of a sudden it's Syria, the crisis in Syria. And then all of a sudden, Turkey's trying to kill the Kurds and trying to create all this unrest just to make Trump look bad. That's how I see it. He's just trying to make Trump look bad. And Trump is saying, don't do it. Don't do it.
I think there was a genius behind what Trump was doing, and I don't know what that is yet.
There's always a genius, and he's always a couple steps ahead of us. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, though? Yeah. I mean, I see what he's doing here, but I haven't figured out what it is. So, we'll have to talk about last week we didn't spend a lot of time on it. You know why? Because I don't know enough about it. I mean, listen, President Trump didn't just say, "Oh, we're pulling out of Syria now." I mean, that's not how it worked out. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. He took over a bad situation in the Middle East. But I do want to get into the first topic of discussion, which is CNN. And what I want to talk about are these undercover recordings that were made by a whistleblower, CV.
Yeah.
And it captures CNN employees casually confirming the network's anti-Trump bias and show company president Jeff Zucker telling these executives to focus solely on impeachment, even at the expense of other important news issues. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein, things like that. According to an activist group that is putting out these recordings from Project Veritas. Now, the founder, James O'Keefe, describes himself as a guerrilla journalist, but, building up this recording of CNN CV, everybody's acting surprised. And I was shocked to see Fox News reporting on this as if it's the first time, because we know that Project Veritas has done this time and time again.
Yeah.
One time they got into Twitter's offices and they were able to show some of the people that worked in the Twitter offices admitting to shadow banning conservatives. They've caught the New York Times pushing for fake Trump coverage. And if you don't remember, Project Veritas 2 years ago captured Van Jones, who worked at CNN, admitting that they knew that the Trump-Russia collusion didn't actually happen. Mm-hmm. So, this is the second time that Project Veritas was able to get into CNN's building and film them. How stupid is CNN and how much a genius is Project Veritas is the question.
Yeah, I love James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. They expose everything. I just want to say, though, that what's really pointed about this particular one is that you can actually hear Jeff Zucker. Yeah, Sucker, whatever you call him. Actually giving orders over the phone, like a conference call to all of CNN's, news reporters and producers. And he's instructing them what to stay on, what kind of slant to give everything, to steer the slant a certain way towards impeachment. And that, even though we knew that was going on, it's really great to actually hear the recording. So he can't even deny it. And Jeff Zucker is probably in close contact with Valerie Jarrett and Barack Obama. The two-headed supreme leader of the deep state.
And the employee that they capture talks about Jeff Zucker, and he said this is what he says, CV. He says, Jeff Zucker basically hates the president on a personal level and has a vendetta against Trump. It's not going to be positive for Trump. Yeah. Zucker hates him. He's going to be negative. The person identified as Neville said in this edited video, the same person also said that many CNN employees want to err on the side of journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
But big boss Zucker tells you what to fucking do.
Yeah.
You have to like it. To a certain extent, you have to follow his verdict. That's interesting right there, CV. That is kind of interesting. So that there are some employees at CNN that actually want to report on the news, but Jeff Zucker says, no. You don't do that. Anything that's positive about the president, you can't report on. We only report on negative Trump news.
It's pure propaganda. MSNBC is the same. And right down the line, I mean, all the alphabet news channels are that way. Even Fox News is starting to veer left.
Yeah.
Shepard Smith quit. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
What?
Schlep.
I think there's a coming scandal coming in that with him. Is coming out soon. But I digress. But we live in a very scary time where our news and our media and our entertainment is all propaganda, real socialist, left-wing, almost communist propaganda, and we're being spied on. You know, all the high-tech industries know exactly where you're going, where you're shopping, what you're buying, what you're saying. You're being listened to through your phone. You're being watched through your laptops and your phones. And it's all being stored. I mean, it's like it's 1984 all over again, and it's a really strange, weird time. We have no FBI. The FBI is fighting for the deep state, fighting against our president. There's some kind of like civil war within our own government trying to take down. This is a really weird time, and we have to step back and look at it and recognize it for what it is. We are in a nightmare world, and Donald Trump is the only guy who can get us out of this. You know, he needs to win in 2020. He needs to drain the swamp, as they say. The deep state needs to be eradicated. People need to go to jail. Examples need to be made, and we have to reverse this because we are going down a really scary, slippery slope.
It is scary, and, you make a lot of sense in what you say, and the truth really is that the public created this mess. And listen, obviously, the Democrats certainly fed the beast by creating an element of voters that never existed before, the dead, illegals, and that certainly has constituted where we are right now in American politics. But a lot of the people that voted for Bush and Obama, trust me, turned around and voted for Trump because they realized they made a mistake. Believe me, that has happened. And right now, the American public wants to reverse what it created, and that's the slippery slope. That's where we are, and we elected this president to do that, and I think he is, but I think it's going to be pretty painful.
Yeah.
So let's get into the second topic. First, a word from the sponsor. Folks, are you getting frustrated with the trusted conservative sites and magazines turning left? Do you really want to read Bill Kristol in the National Review? Is the Weekly Standard supporting our president enough? I don't think so. Instead, go to thenewamerican.com. Get your subscription to the New American magazine. You can get both the magazine and online subscriptions for a very, very generous price. And you can read pro-Trump, truly conservative contributors from our good friends to the show, Alex Newman, Bill Hahn, and so many others. Go to thenewamerican.com and start right there. All right, so there was a meeting between President Trump and Nancy Gargle's Mouth Pelosi, and it got pretty bad on Wednesday, CV. It started over President Trump's decision to pull the U.S. troops from Syria, with the White House, with the House voting overwhelmingly to rebuke the president on a subsequent confrontation. And it led to Nancy and President Trump leading up to a battle of words. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that when she delivered news of the rebuke, Mr. Trump had a meltdown and called her a third-rate politician. Republicans said it was Miss Pelosi whose conduct was outrageous. They said her walkout was unbecoming, and her push towards impeaching Mr. Trump is poisoning government at the highest levels. The White House canceled a classified briefing for Congress scheduled for later this week that was intended to give lawmakers inside information on Syria that fueled Democrats' complaint that Mr. Trump is trying to shut them out of the role in decision-making. Mr. Trump signaled that he won't be bullied into changing, saying Syria is not our problem, though he did try to get Turkey to pull back from its invasion of the Kurdish region in Syria, a move that has led to certain vulnerabilities in Turkey. The House voted 354 to 60 to condemn the president's surprise decision. Well, I'm reading this from the Washington Times a few days ago. As we know, what happened in Turkey and in Syria right now has been put on a halt. Now, the meeting which Nancy Pelosi had with the president was very volatile, CV, to the point where Nancy Pelosi stormed out of the discussion and President Trump said, "I'll see you at the polls." That's what he told her when she was leaving. Now she came out with Chuck Schumer upset about the fact that President Trump was moving on to a decision in Syria without their insights. But, you know, it's crazy to me how the Democrats can have these closed-door meetings about impeachment inquiries in which they have blocked Republicans from attending, and they get so upset at the fact that President Trump would actually thumb his nose at them. Who do these people think they are?
Yeah. Pelosi's trying to remove Trump from office, and then she goes into this meeting with a big smile on her face thinking that he's going to lick her ass now. Get out of here. You know, it doesn't work that way. Ugh. And, you know, they always exaggerate. First of all, she's grandstanding, as she always does. She's politicizing this to make him look like he's unstable. She said he was shaken, and I think he called her a third-grade politician. Some people heard it that way. Some people heard it the other way. But regardless of that, you know, they exaggerate. Remember other meetings, they said he was slamming his hand on the table, and other people were in the meeting, and they said, no, he's perfectly calm. He was whispering. He wasn't even yelling. You know, they just exaggerate. They politicize everything. And no,
I said, you know, President Trump he isn't ill-tempered. If you've ever watched President Trump, he is mild-mannered. Now, he can say some very tough things, but I can't see him slamming his fist into the table and telling her to kick rocks. The reason he came at Chuck and Nancy the way he did, and he didn't say third grade, he said third rate. It was Chuck who tried to put out the memo that he said third grade, and that's not what happened. But anyway, doesn't really matter. No. The fact of the matter is, they came in to have a discussion about what was going to happen with Syria and Turkey. The president said, listen, I'm getting our troops out of there. This is my decision. I'm sending the vice president in. He's going to meet with Erdogan. We're going to see what happens. They couldn't stand it. Well, how dare you? You know, whatever happened to the good Democrats, the peace-beating-it-loving, bead-wearing Democrats that want to bring our boys home? All of a sudden, it's a big problem that the president wants to take our asses out of Syria. That's ridiculous.
Anything he does, they try to make it seem like it's crazy. It's all gaslighting. You know, it makes perfect sense. It's not our country. It's not our border. What are we fighting? Why are we trying to defend the Kurds? The Kurds seem like they have, you know, they are able to blackmail Trump by saying, well, we'll let out ISIS out of our prisons or something. You know, it's like everybody's after him. And I'm really totally sickened by 2/3 of the Republicans in the House voted to oppose Trump on this. Where, he is the leader. Support our president.
Well, it shows
That's
you.
what I'm saying.
Well, it shows you that there's a different reasoning for them opposing this. It's not just because they hate Trump. It's because they have reasons for wanting to be in the Middle East.
Yeah, but I heard their reason. Their reasons sound like talk salad to me.
No. That's not what I'm saying here. There's an underlying current for why they want to be in the Middle East. They have investments in the Middle East.
Right, I gotcha.
That's why
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
That's why you have 2/3 of the Republicans that are sticking it against Trump. The money comes up against all this. You see, don't forget, America can be self-sufficient on our own oil supply. We just don't want to be. Why? Because we can take everybody else's shit.
Yeah. And then you have Lindsey Graham, the limp-wristed Lindsey, saying, I'm going to be your worst nightmare. You think Trump's afraid of you little fruit?
He is a fruit. Xander Gibb used to say that Lindsey was Lindsey was a drag queen without drag. And he really is. Lindsey Graham, President Trump's biggest ally. I'll tell you, CV, when he started to back the president, I told people, I said, watch out for him.
Yeah.
Watch out for him. He's full of shit.
Now, I have nothing against gay people. When I call him a fruit, I mean that he's fickle. He plays both sides of the fence. And he's a little limp-wristed, but I'm not trying to disparage gay people, so let that be known, all you gay people that may be listening.
He's fruiting.
I'm not trying to insult you.
He's just fruiting.
Yes.
All right, one more little thing before we get going. The John Birch Society helped America elect President Reagan in 1980 and President Trump in 2016. They've rallied the conservative base for over 50 years. Go to jbs.org and join up and receive a good conservative group behind you. JBS has affiliates like the New American, American Opinion Foundation, Freedom Project Media, and Freedom Project Academy. Print membership is $87. Digital membership is only $47. So, there's no reason for you not to get that membership. Go and get it. All right? We're going to talk about LeBron James, basketball player. Now, everybody listening to us that is a sports fan knows that the NBA is in China right now, and that there's been some conflict of interest going on between NBA players and China. And why is that? Well, one of the big names involved with this is LeBron James. So we're going to talk about it a little bit here, CV. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 2018, LeBron James tweeted, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." A mashup and a paraphrase and a quote from a civil rights leader you had right there. Monday, CV, LeBron James' life began to end as he rambled his way through an embarrassing, cowardly, tone-deaf answer about NBA's current conflict with China over a team's executive pro-Hong Kong tweet. An answer that exposed the most blatant way possible the social justice warrior that he is, and only important in the NBA when it doesn't cost anything. James has been publicly silent over the past week regarding Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey's tweet, which contained an image with the words, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." The Chinese government has taken great offense to the tweet, jeopardizing the NBA's lucrative business relationship with the communist nation, as well as individual players' endorsement deals, which is important to LeBron James, of course. So in James' comments about the controversy, he didn't talk about justice or human rights. He talked about how inconsiderate it was for Morey to support democracy in Hong Kong with a tweet that could have cost James and other players money. He said, so many people could have been harmed. Speaking of Maury's tweet, not of the violence being inflicted on protesters by police in Hong Kong or heinous human rights violations that occur in mainland China, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. So let's be careful what we tweet and what we say about China. This is a moron. Listen,
Yeah.
Here's a guy, CV, that when Mike Brown story broke, he went out on the court with a shirt that said Mike Brown, murder victim, and it said criminals, American police. That was the shirt that he wore. This was his moment to shine. Now, he says that he's a social justice warrior. He says he stands up for humanitarian rights. Clearly, what LeBron James is standing up for is his bottom line, because China has big dealings with Nike, which obviously LeBron James has big dealings with the NBA, the Nike company, and ESPN. He gets paid Goopo bucks. This guy, at the end of his life, he's going to be a billionaire. This guy makes more. I can't even tell you, CV, what this guy makes with shoe deals, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's ironic because LeBron James comes out. He won't say anything bad about China. You have people like him and Colin Kaepernick who talk about social justice warrioring and all these different humanitarian rights, yet the same companies that they get paid for by, Colin Kaepernick is a spokesperson for Nike. LeBron James actually has a shoe made by Nike. There are children slaves, slave labor camps in China that make these shoes. China actually has a sect of people called the Falun Gong, which we have done many stories on our show, Freedom on Deck, on the terrestrial network, that have their organs harvested. They have internment camps for Muslims and Christians. There are so... And yes, and Falun Gong, and so many atrocities that happen in China. This man that wanted to take a stand for Mike Brown, who actually was the criminal, don't ever forget it. Officer Wilson acted accordingly. Will not take a stand against a communist country that murders thousands by the year. This man is a fraud, and it just goes to show you, you can't put any of these celebrities in a big light.
No. And Daryl Moore must be, what's his name, Morsi? Or Maury? Whatever. He must be thoroughly confused because LeBron James is saying, oh, you have to speak about these social justice issues all the time. And then when he does it, he gets smacked down by the same guy. You're like, what? I thought we were supposed to talk about social justice issues, but not when it comes to communism.
Right.
And this is what I like to do, is I like to take stories like this and try to broaden it to a larger picture. This demonstrates what social justice issues are all about. It's just a Trojan horse to try to get people into office to implement policies that are socialist and eventually lead to communism. As I always say, the word progressive really means incremental, and they want to incrementally bring this country into communism. So when these social justice issues, saying he, him, her, they, it, and transgender the rights this and gay marriage that, and Black Lives Matter this, and it's all a big smoke and mirrors game to usher in politicians who will implement socialist policies to make us more like China. And therefore, when you cross the line and stand up for the rights of Hong Kong, well, now you've gone too far, because the real issue is communism, and we're trying to mask communism behind all these social justice issues. And that's something that Steve Crowder doesn't understand. That's something that Gavin McInnes doesn't understand. They love to argue back with the social justice issues and argue back and forth. And what you're doing is you're just playing into that. You're just playing into their game.
Yeah, because the when you look at somebody like Colin Kaepernick, when he goes out and he kneels on the field when the national anthem is played, you see what the first thing I looked at, CV, was the fact that he was wearing Nike sneakers. And I said to myself, wow, he's supposed to be against human rights violation, but he's wearing a pair of sneakers made by a 7-year-old kid. Yeah. You know that gets paid 25 cents an hour.
The greatest violators of civil rights in the 20th and going into the 21st century are tyrannical nations and socialists and communists and Nazis. They all do the same thing. They oppress the people.
Islam.
And, yep. They oppress the people and they rule over them with an iron fist, and they kill tens of millions of people that they call dissidents. It's sort of like what social media is doing to us, but in a digital way. Social media is disappearing us. Or like, our voices aren't heard on social media, and they might as well be killing us.
Or like when you see the left, some leftists that say, oh, well, there's 726 different types of genders. And, this guy is actually a beluga whale, and this one is this, that, and the other. And then but the same people that have this type of attitude want to import Islam and the culture of Syria or the culture of Iran or the culture of Iraq into the country. They don't see what they're bringing in, or maybe they do, a lot of them. But the cows, like the cows chewing on the curd, the cows chewing on the grass, they don't understand it. Your average moronic liberal does not understand that these folks that they are fighting for and championing for actually hate them and actually want to kill them. That is the breakthrough that they will never have, because they've been engineered by our school systems and basically our higher institutional learning facilities that have warped our children's brains, and that's the biggest part. And that's where communism comes into play.
Yeah, and socialists like Islam because they vote Democrat, number one, but also because... What?
No, I just agreed with you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. And also because the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
Or something like that. So, like, the common enemy of socialism and Islam is people like you and I. You know? People in the flyover states, middle America, taxpayers, independent people, people who are patriotic, who fly their flags, people who love the Bible and, clutch their Bible in their guns, as Obama says. They're trying to squeeze us from both sides.
And make no mistake about it, that's why they hate President Trump and hate his supporters, because there is a reawakening of the American body that has never been done before. Right now, with Christianity, with faith, with family, with obligation to country, with basically a type of American body politic that will fight for this country. They don't want that. They're like, oh, man, we were doing it with Obama. What happened? Well, what happened was we got sick and tired of your bullshit. Yeah. And, the more people like Elijah Cummings that drop off the face of the earth, the better for me. I hate to say it that way, but guess what? I need this country to move forward in the way of the patriot, not in the way of the socialist.
Right, and the more they keep piling on top of the bullshit, the more votes Trump is going to get in 2020, I'll tell you that.
Well, they're not going to stop him in 2020.
No.
What I'm starting to think about more and more is, what do we do after Trump? Because I'm worried about a Democrat winning back the White House after Trump. So I don't know what we do. I don't know how that's going to look. Hopefully our show will still be around at that time. We'll see. Yeah. You know, that's about it for tonight, CV brother. You know, I'll be talking to you on Sunday, and we're going to have a lot more to talk about with Turkey and with everything that's going on with communist China and President Trump moving forward and doing some very good things. But I will see you on Sunday, my dude.
Okay, you got it, man. Take care.
God bless.
There is no way that I could ever say goodbye to you. Oh no, you're in my heart and soul. Your love has made me whole. Don't ever turn away from me. We met just at the brink. We had to stop and think it out. Through and through, though we both had a past, wanted something to last, had such a lot to give, but had no one to give it to. Now I got you. Now I got you, baby.